Yeah, we're live.
Good evening, folks. This is Scrappy Fan 92 here with another episode of Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. Today we have a change of pace. Yes, a change of pace. This is why we don't record at nearly 10 o'clock at night for me. We were meant to not continue, excuse me. Our original plan was to read the Scooby-Doo story for Halloween, but our team of designated readers isn't here, so we opted to jump ahead.
Yeah, that's still gonna happen.
Maybe Saturday. Maybe.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yes, after a I don't want to call it hiatus, but after some time we are returning to a longer form serialized story because Harry demanded it.
Yeah, there have been a lot of discussions behind the scenes about what we're gonna try doing for this series, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're gonna try to do is have like a long form story happen, and like every 2 or so episodes of that after every 2 or so episodes of the story, we'll do one or so smaller one-shot stories, which I assume is what the Scooby-Doo story would be.
Depending on how we handle the chapters today, I was just assuming that we would pair off the Scooby-Doo story with another session of this story come whenever we record for that.
Okay, yeah, I suppose. I guess we can see what happens. How long is the Scooby-Doo story?
It's very short.
Okay, we can probably work
Which means
it in
it'll take
then.
us an hour to read, but it's short.
Okay, yeah, we can probably work it in then. That being said, do you want to say what we have in store this time?
No, not really. Today we are reading the story Erika by Pika Blukachu. I love that username.
That is a good username.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, it's a ship fic. If the story and author usernames couldn't tip you off, this is Pokemon related.
Yeah. So, I guess I should have give off some backstory to this. I don't know if I've ever, like, mentioned this, like, on camera before, but, Sabrina's my favorite gym leader, and at one point, I just started looking around to see if there was any good fanfics anyone wrote about her, and that inevitably led me to this fic, which is interesting because this is a pairing that I never really thought I would even really consider, and I don't know, I kind of just read through it out of interest and intrigue, basically, and what I got was a genuinely really well-written and heartfelt story between these two characters, and I remember back when I read it like a year ago or so, saying that this is, like, I remember posting it around basically and just being like, this is a really good story, and if you have the time, I would recommend reading it. And this was, I think, before we even started story time. So that's partially why behind the scenes I've been adamant of us reading the story at some point. Just because I remember it being really good. It's been a while now, but yeah, I hope it still holds up, and I hope you guys end up enjoying it. That's basically my backstory for this. So.
Yes, we have the DMs dated from December 2019 is when you first informed me of the store's existence. I didn't read it at the time because, you know, vetting. But yes, it's been on the pile for a while.
Yeah. Do you guys have any starting words, I guess?
At Nova's volunteering, he will be handling narrator duties for at least this session.
Yeah.
Also, Nova's here with us today.
Yeah, it's just us three for the this episode.
Things haven't been exactly the greatest for a lot of us, you know, in recent months.
Yeah.
Don't need to explain why, but we're making the best of what we can, and I'm still happy to be here and to assist Scrappy in all this, even if I do think he should be taking a few more breaks because he's been getting sick, but you know, that's just a suggestion.
How dare you value my health?
Oh, jeez. Let's just say that 2020 has been showing its ugly head again.
I should be fine, it's just... I don't even know what I had, just a bit of mild wooziness.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
So, anyways, this is Erika, Chapter 1 by Pika Blukachu.
So I guess, yeah, whenever you guys are ready to start.
I suppose we should provide some basic context on who the main characters are in the greater canon of Pokemon.
I suppose. This is... I should clarify, this is more based on the game canon and not the anime. So that's something to keep in mind while reading this.
Yes, so, Sabrina, yeah, we explained what gym leaders are with the Galler group chat thing.
Oh,
so,
right, yeah.
So yeah, Sabrina, yes, I hope you all watched that. We had a lot of fun recording it.
Yeah, that was a really fun session.
So basically, Sabrina, she is a specialist of psychic type Pokemon, and she herself is a psychic. Her level of psychic powers and general benevolence depends on the medium of Pokemon that you happen to be experiencing at the time.
Yeah, there's a ton of different versions of Sabrina.
This is the mostly benevolent, psychic, occasional Hollywood star Sabrina.
Yeah.
And Erika is the grass-type gym leader of Celadon City. I believe she runs a department store in the games as well.
Can you help? I think we need Nova's help a bit for this.
No, she's never owned a store where she's just gym leader.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea where you got that information from.
That
Because
sounds
she owns a store in the anime.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. That sounds more like the anime.
Yeah, that's anime only. In the game, she's just a gym leader.
Fair enough. Is there anything else we need to know before we move on?
Erika's generally aloof. I mean, insert haha hype, like haha we jokes here, but she is generally aloof. She's definitely when you with what you confer from the anime when it comes to how she presents herself, she is that at least is accurate to the game. She soft spoken, gentle, not really, not very confrontational. Mainly doesn't really keep to herself, but is still what you would call introverted for the most part.
I can see that. Okay, that makes sense.
Alright then, that's about as much context as I have, so...
Yes, I think that should be good enough for the time being. There'll be more characters later on, and we'll probably talk more about them when we get to him, but that should be good enough for now.
Alright. Summary: Sabrina changed as a person in the 3 years following the initial defeat of Team Rocket. More on them later. But why? This is a story told from Sabrina's point of view about insecurities, growth, and how just one person can inspire change in someone's life. And with that, I cede the floor to Nova for the rest of the session.
Have fun with your vocal cords.
1 year after Team Rocket's initial defeat. The better I am at my job, and the more famous I become, the more this indescribable emptiness threatens to consume me. That's what it feels like sometimes. Is this really all my life will ever be? This level of melodramatic pensiveness sounds ridiculous coming from me, I know. After all, I am an extraordinarily successful individual and a professional in something I excel at. I've had powerful psychic powers from a young age and became a gym leader while I was still a teenager. This is statistically incredible. People who have met me boast about it as if I am their friend. People say I'm a prodigy in my field. Apparently I'm good looking. I have many traits that people will be envious of, right? Not that it matters. It shouldn't and doesn't matter. What matters is that there is nothing wrong with me. It is normal for someone busy like me to not have friends. But even without realizing it, invasive insecurities always break into my thoughts lately. Even when I attempt to remind myself that I'm supposed to be this great successful person. Why do I feel so empty? You know, people say it is rare for a child to develop such powerful psychic powers. Why do the psychic powers matter though? Being young did not stop Brock or Misty, multiple years my junior, from becoming widely respected gym leaders with many friends. It didn't stop Olivine City's new gym leader. When I think about it that way, it makes me believe there's really nothing special about me. Not in a way that really matters. Psychic powers only feel special to other people, but to me, they're mundane. All I can think about lately is what I don't have. That seems immature of me, but it isn't new. These thoughts first emerged when I was a child. Eventually, I buried myself in my training and pushed all of these uncertainties out of my mind. But maybe it was naive for me to think they were gone for good. For most of my life, I thought I would be content simply defining myself on my powers and being successful. That this was just how it was always meant to be. But how can I inspire people like some other powerful Pokemon trainers do when my powers are simply what is now expected of me. I feel nothing when people look at me or ask me about my powers. I respond with a rightfully earned confidence in my ability. That's all. They quickly move on once the novelty wears off. They never connect with me. Maybe that's my fault. Well, most people never connect with me. But there was that child I battled last year. Despite being so young, he defeated me with a graceful passion I had rarely seen before. They went on to become Kanto's champion within mere months. They weren't hugely talkative, but somehow just their fiery eyes and the way they communicated with their Pokemon were burnt into my mind. They connected to and inspired every person and Pokemon they met, good or bad, myself and my Pokemon included. I felt a connection with the champion of all people, and the double-edged sword of inspiration struck again. Inspiration is a beautiful, frustrating thing. My meeting with that trainer, the connection I formed with them over the brief time we knew one another, rekindled all kinds of questions and emotions in me that I had buried when I was younger. I continued to hope they would just go away if I focused on my training. I now feel stuck in this state of emptiness though. These thoughts are meaningless nonsense that should not affect my professional life. But I cannot find inner peace despite my training and teaching. I don't want them to be there, but this empty feeling is starting to dominate my every thought, even my dreams. It's gotten past the point of being annoying to being a genuine inconvenience. Since that trainer defeated me, my once composed mind will not shut up. And it's not just because of them. Lately, everything reminds me of my other inspirations, just how empty they make me feel. Just one example, Kanto has become a happier, more beautiful place since the new champion defeated Team Rocket. People and Pokemon from across the world are visiting. Travel connections with Johto have become significantly more convenient. Even just staying in Saffron City, I've seen more kinds of people and Pokemon than ever before. It's inspiring, but also a little overwhelming. They make me realize how little of the world I actually know. And just like when I was a child, my ignorance and lack of understanding has caused genuine issues. Like when I recently learned that Eevee possessed the ability to evolve into a majestic psychic type called Espeon. I desperately wanted an Espeon of my own, but was too proud to ever consider asking for help. In the end, no matter how hard I trained Eevee, there were no results. Eevee remained an Eevee. One day I became so overwhelmed with frustration at my ignorance and lack of ability to evolve a Pokemon into a psychic type that my own specialty, that the electricity in Saffron Sim short-circuited. As in, my own overwhelmed state of mind caused me to lose control of my psychic abilities. It doesn't happen often, but it had happened before. And each of those times were among the most ashamed I've ever been of myself. The times I had truly felt like a failure as a person. I had to close up for the day and tell all my gym trainers to go home. I really felt truly pathetic. I vividly remember that and the other times that it happened. Even now, I'll probably never forget them. They make me feel wholly unworthy of the pedigree perfection people perceive in me. Still, after that I worked closely with engineers from Silpco to redesign my gym without necessity for electricity. Conveniently, finding ways to hide my shame and avoid the possibility of it happening again is good for the environment too, I guess. But after all that shame and humiliation, someone else who inspires me told me that I had inadvertently inspired this polluted city to become more eco-friendly. She seemed so happy when she found out my gym was updated like that. and it made me want to work with Sylph to update the infrastructure of the other parts of the city too. I guess that brings me graciously to someone who was among my first inspirations, as well as someone who just keeps re-entering my life, for better or worse. There was a long period of time where I desperately avoided thinking about her altogether because of how empty she made me feel, and how utterly hopeless I am at friendship. But if I ever want to address the questions and emotions I've been pushing down for years, I'm going to need to talk about Erika.
Oh, is that...
And that is the
That's the end of the
Yes.
chapter. Okay. Oh, yeah.
And an author's note: this prologue takes place between chapters 4 and 5, and basically is the point between flashback and present time.
Right.
So yeah, we're starting in, how do you pronounce it? In media. How do you pronounce it? In media res? Is that the terminology?
Think.
In the middle of thing. Into the middle of things is the loose English translation. I just.
Right.
Alright, well, that's interesting. Some scenario to set us up with.
Yep. It was a good first chapter to set the stage for things. What'd you think, Nova?
Aside from some minor sentence structure issues that make it not really flow as smoothly as it could, uh, uh, aside from that, it is actually, at least the way it's, at least the prose is actually pretty good, because I can definitely see, I can definitely hear Sabrina say all this, and I really, and just hear how she would say it, and especially with the emotions that would come along with them. It
Yeah.
it was actually pretty easy for me to figure out how to say pretty much most of these lines, because it just, because at the very least the prose felt very natural. It didn't really feel like it was trying to it was trying to force depthness in her character, or trying to come up with something just to sound uh, it just to sound like it's something profound. It feels natural overall.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I find it appropriate that the Esper of the gym leaders of Kanto is the one who's basically talking to herself the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who aren't fully initiated with Pokemon lore, yeah, this is kind of an interquel between Gen 1 and Gen 2.
Yeah,
So,
basically.
yeah, also, like, maybe we'll see the trainer later, but I do kind of like how Red or Leaf is just this kind of vague, nebulous invader who kind of changed Erika's life.
Yeah, they're they don't, they do vaguely show up a few times, I think, but they don't really have major roles. But I do love the fact that all the gym leaders kind of just see them as like this like godly being or something. But yeah.
Yeah,
we're gonna move on. Are we ready to start chapter 2 then?
Yeah, I am if Nova is.
Alright.
Let's just get this over with.
Alright.
Chapter 2, School. Felt remotely comfortable calling a friend. That did not mean I was confident about it, but she has been the most constant social fixture in my life for some time now. Well, mostly. I suppose I have reasons to believe she was not my friend either.
Oh my god. Oh god, it's gonna sound cheesy, but oh my god, but it is part of the story, so anyway. Erika was my senpai at trainer school when we were younger. It was not for a very long time, but I remember it so vividly, even now. I do not know much about the inner machinations of others. I barely understand my own thoughts. Debating my own emotional state, let alone understanding what makes other people tick, is still quite alien to me. To put it another way, I can read people literally through my powers, but I cannot read or understand what makes them that way. My powers come from calm and calculation. I was taught from a young age that factoring emotion would complicate things. I digress. The point is that some children gathered around me like fans, while others steered clear of me like I was a monster. I'm sure the parents told them things about me, or perhaps they saw me practicing powers they did not understand and that I could not yet fully control. Most people were simple and easy to read, but Erika was not. This is why I could not decide whether I hated her or not. The first time I saw her, she radiated incandescently, and the only word I could think of to describe her in my young mind was beautiful. She was beautiful. I was initially so overwhelmed by the way she seemed to carry light itself within herself that all the windows in the room I was in shattered. My fault, of course. This was understandably enough to make students and teachers wary of me, enough to have my family alerted. I didn't care though. My eyes were fixed on her. From that day forward, whenever she appeared before me, I would have great difficulty tearing my attention away from her visage. I tried at first, but quickly gave up and allowed myself to bask in her light. I doubt it took her long to notice. She was an extremely intelligent and observant individual. She seemed to understand the life and everything around her. She knew what made everything tick, and she found every aspect of it genuinely fascinating. I know this because of the inspiring way her eyes lit up. They gleamed about everything. The children, the flowers, the Pokemon. She longed to know all of them intimately. I was fascinated with her and the way she saw the world. She was my first true inspiration. I hated it. She contrasted me in every way, and I could not stop thinking about it. The things she did to me, without even touching or talking to me, let alone any psychic power of her own. I was closed off and did not speak to people often, but this power she possessed over me far outmatched anything I had ever experienced before. Ridiculous. She once welled up with tears upon seeing the growing bud of a newly hatched baby Bulbasaur. and the image of her pure emotional expression is still burnt into my mind. I remember being so distracted about her passion for life during my own training that a spoon I was intent on bending on as an exercise ended up covered in teeth marks. I should know they were not physical marks with my actual teeth. My psychic powers just did that to the spoon because I was so vexed. Anyway, like me, Erika was popular. From her natural glow, I could hardly blame them. She was always surrounded by girls who seemed genuinely care for her well-being and who behaved as though they would defend her good image to the grave. That much has not changed to this day, actually. This only made me feel even more strange. Despite my own apparent popularity, I never got the feeling that many people cared about me or felt any strong emotion for me. This is why, despite having my attentions for Erika seemingly return was so unfathomable. I had watched Erika relatively regularly since I first laid eyes on her, because I just found it hard not to. Whenever I spotted her at lunch break or at the end of the school day, my eyes were drawn. Then after a few months, she started to watch me back. The first few times that it happened, I would quickly and awkwardly avert my gaze so as to not make her think I was staring. I mean, I was. Still, before long I noticed she would watch me even when I was not watching her. Soon, we both shared eye contact frequently, sometimes for extended periods of time. She did not look at me like she looked at nature or even other people. Her eyes were boundlessly curious, and she did not falter or hesitate like I sometimes did. Her glare was steeled, confident, and mesmerizing. I was jealous for grace and composure when remaining calm was such a vital part of my own training. Much to my chagrin, she then began to sit near me at lunch. Initially, her entourage would ask her why she did this, but quickly stopped. She would do this almost every day without fail. She started sitting opposite me with regular eye contact, and eventually she sat on the seat right next to me. She did not do this to anyone else, which infuriated me too. Was she mocking me? Attempting to scare me away from looking at her? I did not know. I still do not know. There were many times I wondered if she wished to be my friend, or if this connection between us actually made us friends. But she did not treat her other friends this way. By this point, she was increasingly taking up unsolicited space from my mind as well as the physical space near me. This is part of why it bothered me so much. Still, I admit I became comforted with the schedule sharing eye contact with Erika. It became something I almost looked forward to for a time. My soul felt warmer just to be near her. The familiarity of her presence soothed me and made me feel like I had a friend, like someone who wanted to be near me. Before anything else could happen, though, it was over. Erika and I had scarcely even exchanged words with one another beyond pleasantries such as hello or goodbye, before we went our separate ways. Our families are both quite strict. Our time at trainer school was limited, and through total coincidence we were both removed to begin homeschooling during the same academic year. My focus was worsening, and my family thought I had been asking too many emotionally charged questions. Because of this and the window incident, homeschooling was seen as the best path for my career. I never did see how Erika reacted to my leaving, and I don't know why this hurts. One day she was sitting next to me at lunch, and the next day I was taken from her. It was the last time I saw her for years. The next time I met Erika, she was already Celadon City's majestic gym leader.
and end chapter.
Yeah, these are going by really quickly. I mean, I don't really have much to add to that. It's just I enjoyed the world building in these early chapters.
Yes, this is apparently the true beginning of the story, and yeah, it's more of a proper origin for our two heroines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. It's well written. It's well written, and yeah, this is the only second long form thing we've read on this show, so I can't really compare it to anything other than Till We Make Our Ascent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only comparison I can make is, oh wow, this one's shorter.
Basically, it's a bit,
Please make a new chapter where we'll read it. We promise.
Wait, what?
Oh, man, just making an appeal to our acquaintance, Ottermelon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, Nova, good job as Sabrina. It works. Your cadence works.
Yeah. You're doing a really good job selling the performance.
It at least helps that I guess it at least helps that, you know, beyond the whole psychic powers thing, I kind of almost reminisced of my younger self while I was reading this, because because the more I thought about it, I was reading, the more I kind of sympathize with Sabrina, because I guess because I kind of shared some of the same feelings that she was sharing about her younger years, and so and that kind of gets into more personal stuff about my life. But to keep it short, yeah, I definitely resonated with the words that were in this chapter, or in the previous chapter rather, and because yeah, I kind of felt isolated at various points like she did.
Yeah. I'm a pretty similar way. I spent most of my life kind of in my own bubble, more or less, so I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, I think this relates to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most people aren't psychic, or I'd imagine most people didn't have the luck, maybe, to have a pretty young woman willing to give up all their time to be with them in their primary years, but
Yeah.
the feeling of isolation is pretty... I think that's a universal feeling.
Yeah. And I think one of the best and quickest ways to get people engrossed into your story is how relatable it can be. And I think right off the bat, Pikachu has done I love that name. It has done a really good job doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is obviously a long form story. So far, not really moody, but it's, I guess, more character. What's the word? Introspective.
Yeah.
Than most of the stuff we read. That's not even an insult to anything else we've read. It's just a point of comparison.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I guess not a warning, but just an observation, I guess, to those following us right now. It's a Pokemon story, but I don't think it's really going to be about the Pokemon themselves.
The Pokemon do play a role in the story, but it's mainly about the characters themselves.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that you got that's the fun, I guess, of Pokemon. The gym leaders are popular in and of themselves.
There's a lot you can do with the series. It's like, in terms of just story potential, that you can do a lot with it. Like there's a
like a group chat.
Yeah, there's a ton of different things you can do. Like there's like multiple different Pokemon mangas and whatnot.
Yes.
But
And Sabrina is different in all of them.
yeah. And then there's like obviously the anime and the games and all that stuff. And yeah.
Yes, we'll likely cover a story of the anime corner of Pokemon sooner or later.
Probably, depending on like what we find. I don't know, do you guys want to do another chapter, or are we like, is this where we're stopping for today?
That is down to our chief reader tonight.
Yeah, because those chapters were really went by super fast.
And, yeah, there's time for one more, then sure.
Okay,
sure,
yeah, we can do one more then.
Okay. Here we are. Erika, Chapter 3, Gyms. A few years of homeschooling, and I had successfully buried those confusing feelings. I had not forgotten Erika. Pardon me. I had not forgotten Erika. Of course not. But I felt confident that the effect she'd had on me was a thing of the past.
Become a powerful psychic thanks to my homeschooling. I had discarded emotional complications and had much greater control over my state of mind. I was essentially able to make myself calm and collected at will, despite still being just a young teen. As I became more confident in my abilities as a prodigious psychic-type Pokemon trainer, I surveyed Kanto and battled most of its professional gym leaders. I began to contemplate the best angle I could take to become a gym leader myself. This is how we reconnected after such a long time. It was not like Erika was unfindable either. Her family is known and respected. I simply did not care to actively seek her out while I focused on my training. At least, I thought I didn't care. I did not really struggle as I journeyed Kanto and battled the gym leaders myself, but my time in Celadon City was different, for reasons that should now be obvious. Kanto's most populous city and one of its oldest. Celadon City has had a worsening pollution issue since the Industrial Revolution, so I was not surprised to find out that Erika had made it her project. I was not surprised to find that Erika had already become a gym leader either. What did surprise me was how it made me feel. My battle against Erika was over quickly, due to the part poison typing of most Kanto native grass types. Her team fell easily to my powerful psychic Pokemon. It was nearly a one-sided match. However, by the end of the battle, it felt as if I was the one who had lost, while she had won. The way she calmly and beautifully commanded her partners in battle, how each of her Pokemon glowed with the same natural radiance she had refined even more brightly in herself since I last saw her. These things made me realize that no, I never stopped caring. When I saw her, I became suddenly aware of what it felt like a massive gaping hole in my chest. As blood rushed to my head, I thought to myself, this emptiness has been here since we left each other's lives? It had been there for all these years, quietly haunting me, and I had no idea. The realization that it was there caused me considerable stress during our reunion, our battle, our formalities. Of course, I did not tell her how I felt. Why would I? It was completely unreasonable. Anyway, Erika seemed pleased to see me again. She beamed when she saw me enter her gym. Despite being surrounded by women who adored her, she shone her sunlight directly onto my face as I was the only thing in the world. And I was pleased too. But I was also genuinely inconvenienced by these feelings, and I was jealous. I was not jealous of Brock or Misty who had taken over gyms from their families at a very young age, but I was of Erika. Perhaps it was because I felt an emotional connection of sorts to her, or because I saw her as a peer, an equal. Either way, I did not want to believe any of those things at first. All I knew was that I felt awful, and Erika could fix it. Being near her made me feel like I had a chance of filling that gaping chasm inside me. While I did survey and defeat almost every gym in the region, in the end it seemed almost poetic to simply take the gym in my hometown, Saffron City. With the new determination, I easily crushed and overthrew Saffron's fighting type gym and established myself as the new gym leader. I left the old Shame gym as a dojo and established my own modern gym next door. After I became firmly based in the city next door, I visited Erika again, and again, and again. At first it was just curiosity, to confirm a suspicion about that empty feeling. I went back because I told myself I had to. Before long though, I was smiling in her presence, and she appeared to enjoy mine. We even began to talk, not just formal hellos and goodbyes like at school. We talked about ourselves, our families, what Pokemon we found interesting. I vividly remember one early conversation we had that made her seem as if she had not changed one bit since school. She had asked me what my favorite Pokemon species was, and I quietly responded with just Alakazam. She nodded and smiled, confidently keeping the conversation going, as if trying to get me to speak to her more freely. She responded, "My own favorite is Bulbasaur. I do not have one myself yet, but the way it starts out life with a small, plain bulb, which eventually sprouts into a giant tropical flower that offers nourishment for itself and others, perfectly encapsulates why I love grass-type Pokemon. Why I love Pokemon. Why I love nature." She sounded rehearsed. It sounded rehearsed and methodical, like she was so passionate about nature that she was fully prepared to talk about its beauty at all times. The way we discussed Pokemon highlighted how different we were. Erika focused on the way they grew and the environments they flourished in, whereas I would eventually express my fascination in the Pokemon's intelligence and capability grow stronger through learning. Yes, eventually thanks largely to Erika's friendly and soothing aura, I was able to match her passionate speech with my own fascination. Alakazam is a phenomenal creature. It always blows me away that there exists such a species in which almost every member is as intelligent as Earth's most intelligent human. Its capacity for teaching and learning is something I'm sure humanity will be studying for millennia to come. It's incredible. And it appeared she felt similarly to how I saw the world. My heart raced when I was near her, but I was not unhappy as I was when I first felt that hole in my heart. It was strange, but I was contented for a time. It was the closest I had ever emotionally felt to anyone besides my immediate family. The fact that it was new to me is partially what it caused it to unravel as the months went on, I imagine. More and more frequently, I would ask Erika who the women in the gym were, what they meant to her, if she was close to any of them, if they were friends like we were. They were her gym trainers, of course. That was obvious to me from a logical standpoint, but her answers on the subject never eased the aches in my guts. I would find other ways to word the question and ask again. At first it was once every few weeks, then once a week, and eventually every other day. First it was, Erika, are you close? Erika, are these your gym trainers? Then, Erika, are you close to the trainers in your gym? Eventually my tone was more inquisitive. Do your gym trainers ever annoy you? Do you ever get along with these women better with these women than other gym leaders? How long have you known them? Do you like them more than me? Stuff like that. It shouldn't have mattered as if they were just acquaintances, friends, close, anything, but it did. My jealousy was impacting my behavior in a way I was finding increasingly difficult to control. This was just part of how I ruined things between us, though. There was this old man who typically loiters outside of Celadon Gym. He peers into the gym through the windows most days. At first I thought nothing of it, but once I asked him what he was doing, and he simply mumbled, "This gym is great. It's full of women." He then continued to stare at the window at the women, pretending I was not there despite the hateful scowl I gave him. I later asked Erika about him. She simply replied that while she was uncomfortable with his presence, he did not intend any harm and she would rather not inconvenience him. I, however, was not okay with this. Due to my jealousy of Erika's colleagues and my frustration with this creepy old man, my time with Erika was more frequently causing my stomach to churn. For a while, I pushed these feelings to the side and told myself to ignore them. But things eventually did come to a head. It felt almost inevitable. In retrospect, I think there were warning signs. Erika's sweet demeanor cracked a few times as I incessantly asked about the women, constantly scowled at and complained about the old man, turned up unannounced more and more often while she worked and trained.
Excuse me, Sabrina. So I just wanted to lighten the burden for you. Excuse me, Sabrina. I'd like to focus on my garden and training my colleagues today.
I was causing discord in the harmony she had constructed for herself. I did not notice until it was too late, though. One morning I saw the old man at the gym earlier than usual. Erika and her colleagues were close to the other side of the window, watering the gym's garden. I glared daggers at the old man, which is when I noticed he had his disgusting eyes fixated on her. I stood still and watched him watching her. I was unhappy. I wanted to say something to him to make him stop. I wanted to say something to Erika to make her reconsider letting him stare. I wanted to hurt him. I wonder what would happen if I just left him alone. I wonder what he was thinking. What would I say to him anyway? How could I make Erika change her mind? How would I even get the old man to listen to me? Would I be able to use my psychic powers to scare him off? Would it be awful if he slipped and fell? Could I... As I ran scenarios over and over in my head, my eyes fixated on him, I heard gasps and screams. What? It quietly escaped my mouth as I snapped back to reality. The glass window the old man was peering through had shattered, and the wall surrounding it had become warped. The ground below where I stood had depressed slightly, becoming a concave bowl-like shape. It became immediately obvious that I had done this, and that my attempts to collect my calm were failing me. The old man was in shock. Erika rushed outside and immediately asked him if he was okay. She bowed her head low and apologized over and over, taking full responsibility. He did not seem particularly angry. Before long, he was calmed by her expertly professional air of grace, then simply smiled and went home for the day. Erika then stormed over to me and wore an expression I had never seen from her before. I could tell she was trying to compose herself, but she could not. Unlike the old man, it seemed like I was the source of her frustrations. She took a deep breath before she spoke, and I braced myself for nature's wrath.
You cannot control yourself, then you need to leave, Sabrina. I'm supposed to be... Excuse me. I'm supposed to be a professional, and I can't have you dragging my reputation into the ground. Having a gym regularly damaged by Pokemon battles is already difficult enough to keep on top of without this.
She tried to avoid raising her voice, but I could hear her tones escalating, and I got an earful. I tried to apologize, but only I quietly escaped my mouth before she continued. She did not take another breath.
I'm not sure what justifies coming over here and stuffing your nose into every little thing I do or acting like you live here, but I hope you figure out what the hell is going on in that head of yours. Goodbye.
She then turned around and walked inside. She began to instantly make calls, I assumed to repair the damage that caused. I could hear from outside. She tried to behave normally, but her posture was rigid and her voice stern, angry. Before long, I turned around and walked home to Saffron City. After that, I did not go back to see her again. I played the scene over and over in my head. The way she spoke to me in raised tones, the language she used, I never heard it from her before in any situation. I did as she asked. I left. I did not figure out what was going on in my head. I tried, for maybe a few weeks, but I had no idea what I should do. How to fix myself. One night, a month or so later, as the confusion swirling around my head became too overwhelming to bear, I chose to discard all the questions and give up. I told myself we just weren't friends after all. I clutched my chest and cried myself to sleep. After that, I doubled down on my own training. I became a gym leader known for my ruthlessness, thrashing any and all challenges that came before me. I went undefeated for months, until one day, that is.
And chat.
And
Sure.
chapter? Okay. Yeah, that was a... Oh, man. I can just say one thing. Just hearing that goodbye kind of just stings. Because, like... Oh, that hurts.
You didn't tell me Anime Erika was in this.
Oh, Lord.
Well, that's always a catch. That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
I'm invested.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, at least. It's one of those, stories where it's like... It's very easy to just be like, I want to just read one more, especially considering the short length of the chapters. It brings you in pretty early, I think.
Yep. I mean, story, I won't say cheated, but it had a in media res, and I again apologize if I mispronounced that. An in media res prologue, so that kind of got to let them hit the ground running early.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like how they integrated that one weird old man from the games.
Yeah.
I forgot that character existed. Hi, Brock.
Essentially. Yeah, there's a lot of references to the games in this story, so...
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be. Yeah, I'll handle Erika's voice from. I'll try and handle Erika's voice from here on out. I'm gonna workshop that, whatever voice I choose for her, because it's always a struggle.
Yeah. All these stories. I like how we keep finding these stories that have female characters. Like. We don't have to... I mean, Nova's been doing pretty well, but we don't have enough female voices for this stuff.
Yeah, it's like C's Brain's a sausage fest or something.
I mean, I guess we could ask Maddie to join for one of these, because, like, later on, like, there's gonna be a ton of characters, so that might help us a bit.
If she's available.
Yeah.
It's very up in the air since, and not only because not only is it dependent on her own mood, because her relationship with her mother has pretty much slowly gotten worse and worse over time, and she's now been busier lately. Now she's trying to. Or at least for a while, she had 2 jobs, but you know she's still looking to maintain that, as far as I know. So
yeah,
it's her free time's gonna be pretty scarce, and also her mood is always gonna be a factor in it. So.
It is what it is. Yes, we keep name dropping her, but she's like the audience here doesn't really know her.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be here eventually.
Hopefully.
We hope.
Hopefully, yeah. No. I'm not gonna make any promises because we can't speak for her and when she'll be available or even want to do this, but. Hopefully, Maddie will appear in a future episode, but I guess time will tell on that front.
Oh yeah, we have 2 Maddies, maybe, for Star Wars, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure about that. The other one showing up at this point.
Yeah. There's the Sea Spray Maddie, and then there's the Maddie that Scrappy knows specifically.
I get the feeling it's... Why do I get the feeling it's just going to literally just be the regulars doing a Star Wars script at this point?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I kind of hope it's not, because, good lord, that thing's gonna take a while.
maybe Ethan will join us for that.
I'd be fine with at least that. Ethan would be fine. Maybe we can drag Jerry into this.
Yes, I'm sure he would love to read a script to the sequel to The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to regret this, but we're doing it anyways.
Yeah, this has been like a plan against our better judgment for like what, half a year or something now. So it's
It's
gonna
the only thing we've planned ahead of time for this show, so we're sticking with it.
Yeah, everything else has just been off the cuff, basically.
Yes, we here at Storytime with Scrappy and Friends record things on the strict basis of when we feel like.
That's one way to put it.
Well, I enjoyed this, and I look forward to the rest of the chapters. Also, I didn't read it, so yeah, I may explain a few things. Nova, good job.
Thank you.
What's your stance, Nova?
Did you say stunts?
Stance.
Stance, yeah. Stunts.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Accent. It made it sound like you said stunts and not stance.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
just my accent or something.
Yeah, anyway, my stance on this, yeah, I mean, I was gonna get into this a little bit earlier, but the more I read this story, the more it resonated with me, because, like, even if, you know, feeling isolated is a pretty universal feeling, there's a certain kind of isolation that's not as universal, and that's kind of what I've been sympathizing with and resonating with here, because, like, sure, I mean, I had points where I just felt genuinely lonely, but there were plenty of points in my life where I just kind of felt like even if I was liked enough, I was never really loved. Like, because rather in a non-family kind of way or a non-friendly kind of way, because I just kept seeing all these people around here, like, you know, even if you know, you're much more likely to make dumb mistakes when you're younger and in love. The fact of the matter is, like, even if I grew to understand this more and more, just seeing, you know, people who weren't just in a relationship just to say they were in one and actually seemed genuinely happy, and as if their relationship was actually going to go well past grade school. Like, it kind of, I really do resonate a lot with Sabrina here. I had to, or at least I felt the need to suppress those emotions for a long time, and now they're finally catching up to me, to say the least.
Well, we thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man. I don't really know what to say about that, but... It's... I guess one thing is that it is always important to know that there are people that love and care about you. Like, no matter who you are, there's always going to be, like, someone out there. And it can be... It can be very difficult to realize that a lot of the time.
Fiction, but I guess my personal favorite example, at least from fiction, is, well, Naruto. Yeah, I speak in shonen allegories. Get over it. Someone pointed out to me a while back. And it's kind of stuck with me. Yeah, I'm trailing my S's. It's funny that Naruto was the outcast of his village and was largely ignored, and he thought he was truly ignored by everyone, but Hinata existed.
Yeah.
Naruto was the how do I describe this? I suppose it's just kind of poetic that the invisible hero had an invisible supporter in his corner the whole time. So, something to keep in mind. There's always someone who cares. You might just not know it yet.
So, yeah, basically.
And that goes for you, yes, you person listening to this video right now. You are worth being loved. Worthy of being loved.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and also, something for the viewers is just be mindful that it might take a while to find that certain person, because, well, finding friends is easy, but finding someone you really share a truly deep connection with, it's not guaranteed when you'll get it. Like, you will be able to get it, but when it comes to when, it's never guaranteed, and it's painful and very taxing. It can be very taxing, but just that's why patience is virtue, because if you can practice that, at the very least, it'll hurt a little bit less, and you'll eventually find that deep connection you've been looking for.
Yeah, you
Said.
essentially just have to be very patient. You can't force something like that to happen. Wait, what now?
Yes, this is the philosophical hour now. Every time. Thanks, Harry. I feel awkward that we didn't record for 2 hours this time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change of pace. How long we've been going? Just an hour 13.
Yeah, I think we can call it here, but it's just it just took me by surprise.
Yeah, this was a very solid episode, I'd say. Really just kind of thought-provoking. Like, those are the types of stories I tend to enjoy, so...
At least it's not as existentially depressing as Till We Make Our Ascent. Knocks on wood. Oh, there's 15 more chapters to change my mind.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Alright, I don't know when we'll return for another session, but honestly, it depends on Ethan's availability, and maybe Saturday. Maybe.
But before we move on with this story, we'll have Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Yeah, it's only took us 6.5 months to actually do something based off my namesake.
Yeah, and it took however long I've known you until we've done that. Like something where it has like your name in there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Do I really have to explain Scooby-Doo next time, or can I just not?
I don't think you really need to, but if you want, I...
yeah, I guess I have to.
Well, look at it this way. If someone's asking who or what Scooby-Doo is, they're probably too young to be on the internet anyway.
Probably.
I mean, I explained Pokemon. It's only fair.
I suppose. I just... I don't know where I was going with that statement. I thought I had something to say, but I don't think I do.
Oh gosh, I have to explain Star Wars. Oh no.
Oh, have fun with that.
No. I have to recap episodes 1 through 8. No.
That could be an episode in and of itself.
Oh gosh, we'll do like another 12-minute addendum like we did to introduce the script casting call.
Yeah.
We're doing the script, I promise.
Happen eventually. It's like, it's gonna be a freaking like magnum opus at this point.
Like a Pavram opus. Sheesh. Yes, our planned 30th episode special, probably not going to be 30th episode because I get the feeling something's going to go run long in the interim.
Well, I said this off camera, but if we need to like pause the story for Star Wars, I'm totally fine with that.
I didn't think that. I'll be frankly honest, I did not expect the story so far to go as quickly as it did. No, I didn't read it ahead of time. Why do you ask?
I'm the only one that's read this story before, just for the record.
We always bet, except when we don't.
I'll just make this a point to say, like, if I recommend a story for this series, I've most likely already read through it ahead of time because I don't like suggesting a story and going in with it blind because I don't know if doing that is like I don't know if it's actually going to be any good or what have you. So yeah.
Yes, at least one of us in an episode has usually read the story.
Yeah.
Even the Wreck-It Ralph story, we had Savior on board for that because he read it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Look at this, we're stalling and it's still not even an hour and a half yet. I have no other further thoughts beyond I enjoyed this and I'm curious to see where it goes. Yeah, Erika and Sabrina, that's a pairing I never really thought of.
Yeah, me neither. And like until I saw this story, like Erika and Sabrina is like was like that's one of the furthest pairings from my mind. But yeah, this story made it really believable and made it work surprisingly well. So kudos to for that.
Yeah, I appreciate the efforts at fleshing out the lore background of Kanto a bit more. It's interesting to see the gym leaders get their backstories a little more fleshed out. So I appreciate that. Pika Blue Kachu. Alright, then, until next time, we wish you all a happy evening, morning, wherever time period, whatever time zone you live in.
Indeed.
Stay safe.
I was just gonna make a final comment regarding the author. I do actually have them on Twitter. So if we really wanted to, I could let them know that we're reading his or her story, similar to with how I did the same thing with Watermelon. So if you want me to do that, I can.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Fair enough.
Sorry, just yawned. We thank you. This has been our episode of Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. We wish you a good day and good health. Wash your hands. And stay tuned for Scooby-Doo and a continuation of this in the nearest future.
Indeed. I don't really have anything else to add to that, so I guess just see you guys later. You got anything, Nova? I'll take that as a no.
No, I don't have.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, well, yeah, we'll see you guys next time then.